Hey friends, Roger Christopherson here again with another first listen review. Now this one is the Jimi Hendrix Experience Hollywood Bowl, August of 1967, August 18th, 1967 to be exact. And this one is a very unique bootleg, as in it has never been bootlegged, I guess, so it's not really bootleg, but it really is amazing that this has been recorded before their first album was even released, and somehow it has never been released officially. It has never been bootlegged at all, so I found that quite intriguing. And I wasn't really sure how to start this one, because if I say what I'm going to say about Jimi Hendrix, you're probably going to wonder, why in the world are you doing this review? And it's nothing bad I'm going to say, but this is the first Jimi Hendrix album I've ever gotten. I know that may sound like amazing, because this is like the kind of music I listen to. Classic rock is like what I grew up listening to. Me and my best friend used to steal his older brother. His brother's 10 years older than us. We used to take his albums, record them, sneak them back, and he had lots of Hendrix. And I just remember sneaking these albums, and just Hendrix was just one of those bands that never like reached out and grabbed me. I know it may sound like crazy to some people, but I think it was because his singing, even Jimmy admits he didn't like his singing, he didn't want to sing. It just like it did not like reach out to me at all. And I know he's like this genius guitar player, but I just didn't want to listen to his singing. So it just, I'm talking when I was young, so I just didn't get any of his stuff. And I've just, all these years, of course, I've heard tons of Hendrix songs. I've heard everything. Friends have had Hendrix albums. I have people that are friends of mine that think he's the greatest guitar player in the world. And I'm not saying that he's not. I'm just saying I just didn't listen to him. The other thing that intrigued me to get this one was that they were opening for the Mamas and the Papas, and I had heard that the crowd was a little bit rough on them, and I just had to hear what this was all about. And I'd always heard that, and I'd seen his videos and stuff, of course, of him, that his live performances are far better than anything that he ever recorded. So that's just from what I've heard from friends and stuff like that. And of course I've watched documentaries on him and everything, but for whatever reason I've never owned the Jimi Hendrix anything. I've got a couple tribute albums and stuff, like Stone Free and some other stuff that people have done, of his, their versions of his songs, but which is weird because he does a lot of cover songs too, so it's not abnormal for people to cover Jimi Hendrix. But anyway, so getting into the album, now this is a 2-track only. It's so there was no multi-track to mix down on this or anything. But they did take the 2-track, and they had Eddie Kramer actually helped on this. And if you don't know, Eddie Kramer was, Jimi Hendrix's producer, and did all the crazy experimental stuff in the studio with him and all that. And actually, I had a couple friends of mine had their album mixed by Eddie Kramer. There's a band called Without Warning years ago that had their album mixed by Eddie Kramer, so I think that's pretty cool. And check that out. Actually, if you can find that album, it was released Japanese, I think, only, but good album, progressive rock type stuff, which is really weird that Eddie Kramer did that. But a little shout out to a couple friends of mine. And so anyway, they restored this. Newer modern technology. They're able to get this actually sounding decent. And quite honestly, the sound quality of this is astonishingly really good. The mix was done really well live, so it really didn't really need that multi-track thing, and it does have the energy and the feel of a live concert that I've heard, plenty of other bands from back in this era that have done that stuff. I just got done listening to, Pink Floyd at the Hollywood Bowls, which was a few years after this, the Live at the Matrix with the Doors, which also was performed in front of a very small audience. This is before they were popular. This is before anybody knew who they were. So it's kind of funny listening to it, because you can hear kind of the crowd after they're introduced. There's the local radio station introducing them, and they walk out, and you can hear what the heck is this type audience wondering what's going on. because they're opening up for the Mamas and the Papas, which is like the worlds apart from this. And they break out in the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and they just rip into it. It's a short little less than 2-minute version of it, and they go right into a version of Killing Floor, and with super heavy blues, like rocking out song, and you hear the crowd's kind of like tentatively clapping at the end of it, and Jimmy's like, all right, well, we're just gonna keep on going, we're gonna dedicate this one to all you, and they do "And the Wind Cries Mary," and for whatever reason he kind of flubs up the lyrics a few times in that one, or just doesn't sing anything at all, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been, in situations like that live where things just don't go as planned. I kind of feel for him a little bit there, but doesn't slow him down at all. Keeps right on going. And they do their version of Foxy Lady, and they're just like, you can hear the power, you can hear the passion, you can hear the fact that he just doesn't care. They're doing their thing. And by the end of Foxy Lady, you can kind of hear the crowd like being won over. They're actually getting into it quite a bit. And the only song I'd never heard, I'd heard all these before, but the only one I had not heard is the next one, Catfish Blues, which is also another cover song, and really extended live like jam of that one. And they're winning the crowd over. You can hear it. It's the fire in his playing is like, I mean, I don't know why I haven't listened to him, because I can hear his guitar playing. I'm like, yeah, I've actually probably been missing out quite a bit, because his guitar playing is insane. This is before like anybody even knew who they were. This is like, they're just, you can hear the hunger in his playing, that he wanted to win this crowd over. And of course, Fire is the next one on here, and they just play that perfectly. They're like just running on all 8 cylinders at this point. And he does. Then they turn to their version of like a Rolling Stone, Purple Haze. But by the end of the concert here, he dedicates Wild Thing, which is their last song, to himself. I thought it was hilarious. He makes some comment about why not? There's nobody else here, and then he kind of goes on to say something about, because he does make a dedication to a couple of other times before this to the other songs. This is dedicated to everybody, but then he ends it with, this one's dedicated to us, to the band, and tears into Wild Thing, and he's hitting that guitar so hard you could hear it just going completely out of tune. And I'm sure he was doing something at the end of it where he's who knows if he was setting it on fire or whatever at this one. Like, I'd seen a couple of videos of him doing that, so I didn't know if that was a thing he did all the time or just every now and then. But you can hear that they're just trashing the instruments at the end of the song, and the radio guy stumbles out at the end of it and was like, that was the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And it just kind of fades out from there. So anyway, I really, really, really enjoyed listening to this. People were not lying when they're talking about Jimmy being on fire live, and maybe I should have checked out some of the live stuff in the past, but it was a cool album. I have to give him credit. It's probably a bad thing I waited all these years to check, really, really sit down, listen, put the headphones on and just sit back and listen. I had never actually done that with him before, and I guess never too old to discover new things. So anyway, feel free to beat me up in the comments and tell me how stupid I am for not checking this stuff out sooner. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. I'm sure we don't have to fight to keep Jimmy's music alive, but it sure is fun to talk about it, I guess. And until next time, we'll see ya.